Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi. Good morning. Selamat pagi.
Ya, tahu dah ini. Ya, tepat waktu aja. Masalah nanti pembicara radio dulu aja.
Langsung emang. Bagi.
Assalamualaikum, selamat pagi kepada seluruh peserta Paris Menjava International Seminar. Sebentar lagi acara akan segera kita mulai. Selamat datang kepada peserta dari berbagai universitas. Salah satunya Universitas Muhammadiyah Sidoarjo, Universitas Muhammadiyah Bandung, Stikes Aisyah Bandung, TKIP Setiabudi Rangkas Bitung, Universitas Langlang Buana Bandung, Universitas Surya Kencana, Sekolah Tinggi Teknologi Industri dan Farmasi Bogor, Universitas Muhammadiyah Jakarta, Universitas Muhammadiyah Gresik, Universitas Jenderal Ahmad Yani Bandung, Sekolah Tinggi Analisis Bakti Asih Bandung, Stikes Respati Tasikmalaya, Sisip Bina Putra Banjar, Sekolah Tinggi Ilmu Ekonomi Muhammadiyah Bandung, Sekolah Tinggi Teknologi Mandala, Universitas Muhammadiyah Kendari, STKIP Pangeran Dharma Kusuma Indramayu, STKIP Muhammadiyah Bogor, dan Sekolah Tinggi Teknologi Muhammadiyah Cilengsi. Sebentar lagi acara akan kita mulai, kami masih menunggu beberapa pemateri sekaligus Pak Rektor. Mohon ditunggu Bapak Ibu. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first Paris Panjava International Seminar 2020. Honorable, distinguished speaker, participants, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, as our welcome greetings, we would like to present to you a traditional welcome dance called Tari Payung. Please welcome a great performance of Sendra Tasik students of Muhammadiyah University of Tasikmalaya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Best wishes for us, great healthy, and always be grateful. First of all, let us pray in gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because of His blessing and mercy, even though we are in the COVID-19 pandemic, we can join in this activity today. The first Paris Panjava International Seminar organized by Universitas Muhammadiyah Tasikmalaya in collaboration with Universitas Muhammadiyah Sidoarjo, Universitas Muhammadiyah Bandung, Tikes Aisyah Bandung, STKIP Setiabudi Rangkas Bitung, Universitas Langlang Buana Bandung, Universitas Surya Kancana, Sekolah Tinggi Teknologi Industri dan Farmasi Bogor, Universitas Muhammadiyah Jakarta, Universitas Muhammadiyah Gresik, Universitas Jenderal Ahmad Yani Bandung, Sekolah Tinggi Analisis Bakti Asih Bandung, Tikes Respati Tasikmalaya, Stisip Bina Putra Banjar, Sekolah Tinggi Ilmu Ekonomi Muhammadiyah Bandung, Sekolah Tinggi Teknologi Mandala, Universitas Muhammadiyah Kendari, STKIP Pangeran Dharma Kusuma Indramayu, STKIP Muhammadiyah Bogor, and Sekolah Tinggi Teknologi Muhammadiyah Cilengsi. Excellency, our keynote speakers, Muhammad Adam Yerusalem MT PhD, Professor Erwin Sulaiman, Profesor Dr. MD Makmun Habib, Profesor Dr. Anna Permanasari MSI, Dr. Turnadlengo Ginta, Profesor Dr. Muhtadi MSI, Muhammad Effendi Muhammad PhD, Profesor Dr. Harun Joko Prayitno MHum, Associate Profesor Dr. Rosminah Binti Muhammad, Profesor Dr. Suswandari, to be proud of conference committee and participants. The Honorable Rector of Muhammadiyah University of Tasikmalaya, Dr. Ahmad Konit, IDMA. The Chair of the conference, Dr. Mujiarto, STMT. All distinguished guests, delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, it is great honor for me, Meliana Nurfitiani, to be your Master of Ceremony for this great event. On behalf of the organizer, we wish to extend our warm welcome and thank you to all local and foreign participants and distinguished guests. And to begin the opening ceremony with the blessings, I would like to invite Sunani MPD to read the Holy Quran. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Lillahi ma fis samawati wa ma fil ardh. وَإِن تُبْدُوا مَا فِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَوْ تُخْفُوهُ يُحَاسِبْكُم بِهِ اللَّهُ فَيَغْفِرُ لِمَن يَشَاءُ وَيُعَذِّبُ مَن يَشَاءُ وَاللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه والمؤمنون كل آمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله وقالوا سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين صدق الله العظيم. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, for a brief moment, we would like to invite you to sing National Anthem, Indonesia Raya. I invite all participants to stand up in your room. Sing Muhammadiyah Anthem, Sang Surya.
Sang Surya
Thank you, and kindly be seated. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we would like to invite the conference chair of the first Paris Panjava International Seminar to deliver his welcoming speech. Please welcome Dr. Mujiarto, STMT. Time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning.
A warm welcome to all of you. Dear Rector of Universitas Muhammadiyah Tasikmalaya, and the Honorable Rector of all universities as co-host in the Paris Panjava International Seminar. I want to say thank you to keynote speaker in the first PVJ-IS 2020 for your willingness to become the speaker in this conference. And also to all the participants of the first Paris Panjava International Seminar. The Paris Panjava International Seminar provides an excellent international forum for sharing knowledge and results in the theory, methodology, and application of computer science, engineering, and technology in the theoretical and practical aspect, and also the topic about health, economic, social science, and humanities. The aim of the conference is to provide a platform to the researcher and practitioner from both academia as well as industry to meet and share cutting-edge development. The first PVJ-IS 2020 has received more than 200 submissions from 5 countries: Malaysia, Algeria, Iraq, Mexico, and Indonesia. Each paper has been reviewed by the program committee. The event held by online regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. The oral presentation done using video presentation. We apologize for this inconvenience. This event supported by several universities as co-hosts, including Universitas Muhammadiyah Sidoarjo. Please say hello from Universitas Muhammadiyah Sidoarjo.
Hello.
Universitas
Hello.
Muhammadiyah Bandung. Please say hello from Universitas Muhammadiyah Bandung.
Hello.
Okay.
Universitas
Sekolah
Muhammadiyah
Tinggi
Bandung.
Ilmu Kesehatan Asia Bandung.
Hello.
Please say hello.
Yes.
Halo,
Okay.
Assalamualaikum.
Hello. From the University Muhammadiyah Bandung.
Thank you.
Halo.
Sekolah Tinggi Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan Setiabudi Rangkas Bitung. Please say hello.
Hello.
Universitas Langlang Buana. Please say hello.
Hello.
Universitas Surya Kancana Cianjur. Sekolah Tinggi Teknologi Industri dan Farmasi Bogor.
Hello.
Oke, say hello. Universitas Muhammadiyah Jakarta.
Halo.
Universitas Muhammadiyah Gresik.
Halo.
Universitas Jenderal Ahmad Yani.
Good morning.
Halo.
Oke, thank you for coming. Sekolah Tinggi Analisis Bakti Asi Bandung.
Assalamualaikum.
Halo.
Oke, thank you. Sekolah Tinggi Ilmu Kesehatan Respati Tasikmalaya.
Assalamualaikum.
Oke, Sekolah Tinggi Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik Banjar.
Assalamualaikum.
Sekolah Tinggi Ilmu Ekonomi Muhammadiyah Bandung.
Halo.
Sekolah Tinggi Teknologi Mandala Bandung.
Assalamualaikum.
Universitas Muhammadiyah Kendari.
Halo, Assalamualaikum. Good
Thank
morning.
you for coming from Kendari. Sekolah Tinggi Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan Pangeran Dharma Kusuma Indramayu.
Hello.
Hello.
Oke, thank you. Sekolah Tinggi Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan Muhammadiyah Bogor.
Assalamualaikum.
Thank you.
Halo.
Sekolah Tinggi Muhammadiyah Cilengsi Bogor.
Assalamualaikum.
Okay. Okay, thank you for all co-hosts. Okay, the conference program consists of 10 keynote speakers. We would like to thank scientific committee and reviewer, as well as the committee of Universitas Muhammadiyah Tasikmalaya and co-hosts who have participated in the success of this event so that this event can be held as planned. We also convey to the Rector of Universitas Muhammadiyah Tasikmalaya, Dr. Ahmad Konit Ali Daud, MA, who had supported this event both in terms of finance and other supporting facilities. See you next, the second PVJ in 2021. Enjoy this conference. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for your welcoming speech. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to listen to the welcoming speech delivered by Rector of Universitas Muhammadiyah Tasikmalaya, Dr. Ahmad Punit ADM. And afterward, we would like to request to officially open the first Paris Panjava International Seminar. Time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Honorable distinguished guests, keynote speakers, Muhammad Adam Yerusalem PhD from Majlis Dikti Litbang Pimpinan Pusat Muhammadiyah, Prof. Erwin Sulaiman, International Islamic University Malaysia, Prof. Dr. Muhammad Ma'mun Habib, Independent University, Bangladesh, Associate Professor Turnat Linggo Ginta, University Teknologi Petronas, Prof. Dr. Muhtadi, Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta, Muhammad Effendi Muhammad PhD, University Sultan Zainal Abidin, Uniza, Malaysia, Prof. Dr. Harun Joko Prayitno, MHUM, University Muhammadiyah Surakarta, Associate Professor Rusminah binti Muhammad, University Sains Malaysia, Prof. Dr. Suswandari, Universitas Muhammadiyah, Prof. Dr. Hamka. All leaders and academics of Muhammadiyah University of Tasikmalaya, all organizing committee, all participants, and invited guests all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are grateful for all the blessing that Allah has always bestowed upon us. Among them, on this day, we will meet at the PVJ International Seminar held by University of Muhammadiyah Tasikmalaya. Prayers and greetings may be bestowed upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, friends, and followers. His ummah. This international seminar on innovation for the better life is the commitment of the University of the Muhammadiyah University of Tasikmalaya to always contribute in providing solutions for human life as a moral, social, Al-Islam, and Kemuhammadiyahan responsibility. As an integral part of our Muhammadiyah University Dharma, namely research, education, community service, and Al-Islam and Kemuhammadiyahan. We know one of the key words of a better life symbol called the Quran, the last holy book revealed by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, is the B, one of the names of the letters in the Quran. It says, whoever does good deed, action based on knowledge, both men or women, in a state of faith, then surely we will give a better life, and will we reward them better than what they have done. Al-Quran, Surah An-Nahl, the B, ayat 97. Man amila salihan min dzakarin aw unsa wa huwa mu'minun falanuhyiyannahu hayatan thayyibah wa lanajziyannahum ajrahum bi ahsani ma kanu ya'malun. So, raise fully that a better life is the top chain of the world chain of scientific activities carried out by humans, all of us. To everyone, I welcome to this seminar. Truly, all of your contribution to the success of this event is very important and very valuable good. Therefore, for all this, I express my deep appreciation and gratitude to all of you. Finally, by hoping for the grace and blessing of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, I officially open it this event by saying Basmallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much. Peace be upon you. Peace be upon all of you. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you, For Excellency, Director of Universitas Muhammadiyah Tasikmalaya, for your welcoming speech. Ladies and gentlemen, to close the opening ceremony with the blessings, I would like to invite Oni Shahroni MSc to lead the dua recitation and a moment of silence. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Hamdan yuwafi ni'mahu wa yukafi majidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yang bagi lijali wajhil karim adimi sultani. Allahumma sholli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Allahumma rabbana taqabbal minna sholatana wa siyamana wa ruku'ana wa sujudana wa qu'udana wa tadarru'ana wa takhassu'ana wa ta'ubudana wa tamina taksirana. Ya Allah ya Rabbal alamin. Rabbana dolamna anfusana wa illam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakunanna minal khasirin. Rabbana wa la tahmil alaina isran kama hamaltahu alal ladina min qablina. Rabbana wa la tuhamilna ma la taqata lana bih. Wa'fu anna waghfir lana warhamna anta maulana fansurna 'alal qaumil kafirin. Rabbana la tuzigh qulubana ba'da id hadaitana wa hab lana min ladunka rahmah innaka antal wahhab. Rabbana ighfir lana wa liwalidina wa li jami'il muslimina wal muslimat wal mu'minina wal mu'minat al ahya'i minhum wal amwat innaka ala kulli syai'in qadir. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar. Allahumma ighfir lana dunubana wa kaffir anna sayyi'atina wa tawaffana ma'al abrar. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Thank you very much.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the opening ceremony of the first Paris Panjava International Seminar. On behalf of the committee, we would like to thank you to all guests and participants, and please accept our apologies if any inconvenience. Thank you. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam.
Excellencies, participants, ladies and gentlemen, now we come to our main program, the presentation of conference topic that will be delivered by all keynote speakers. Fortunately, we will have 5 professional keynote speakers today. Each session will last 30 minutes. After the special session, we will have video presentation, session 1. That is the end of this conference today. Before we go further, I want to review the functionality of GoToConference. Your active participation is important throughout the session. Right now, I have everyone on mute to avoid background noises that may distract you from listening to this conference. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your Zoom. I'll bring them up during the presentation, and we will also have time for question at the end. Jadi kami mohon selama acara berlangsung, Bapak Ibu peserta conference untuk menonaktifkan mic agar terhindar dari suara yang dapat mengganggu fokus Anda terhadap konferensi ini. Jika peserta ingin mengajukan pertanyaan, maka dapat menuliskan pertanyaan pada kolom chat Zoom dengan terlebih dahulu menuliskan nama, instansi, dan kepada siapa pertanyaan tersebut ditujukan. Dan kami akan membacakan pertanyaan tersebut di akhir acara pemateri selesai memberikan presentasinya. We will also send you all the relevant links after the event on your email, include the material of keynote speakers and the attendance link. Okay, now we can begin. I want to check Mr. Adam as the first speaker. Are you ready?
Yes,
Hello,
inshallah.
Mr. Adam.
Halo,
Assalamualaikum. Waalaikumsalam. Okay, moving right along, it is now my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Muhammad Adam Jerusalem, MT, PhD. He was graduated from National Taiwan University of Science and Technology, major of Industrial Management. And one of his publications is Bayesian Reliability Analysis of a Product of Probabilities Model for Parallel System with Dependent Components, published in International Journal of Production Research, Scopus Index. And now, his title presentation is about the lecture's perceived usefulness and attitude on learning management system. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Muhammad Adam Jerusalem, MT, PhD. Time and place are yours.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, the Honorable Rector of Tas Muhammadiyah Tasikmalaya, the Honorable all the rectors or the leader of the cohorts, I counted. There are 20 universities as the co-host of the first Paris Fund Java PVG Comset 2020. The Honorable all keynote speakers and distinguished guests, all participants. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for inviting me. And as a member of the Council for Higher Education Research and Development, we are appreciates for these events, the first PVG Ecomset 2020 that held by webinar because of the condition of the pandemic COVID-19. It's okay after we delay from April 15, 2020. And yeah, we had this by online webinar. I think it's one of the alternative way to have this event, this seminar. It's no problem, I think, because nowadays there are many webinars as well. So yeah, we can also change the method when we have the seminar. Maybe next year, if UMTAS had the next PVG, yeah, inshallah will be had face-to-face seminar. Okay, next, next please. Yeah, so the slides. Please the slide. Yeah, I'd like to present about the lecture perceived usefulness attitude on learning management system that I already published yeah, in the Scopus journal with my colleague from Malaysia, from UPSI, and yeah, part of the research I will share to you all here to share in this seminar. Okay, next next slide. Yeah, technological advance have challenged the paradigm of world society in education. LMS or Learning Management System is a web-based learning ecosystem used to disseminate information, communicate, and knowledge for education and training. The education system has undergone continuous change with new values and methods that will bring about educational investment over time. Recognizing and incorporating responsible innovation into education policies into the classroom can lead to a new era of innovation for education. Moreover, in this condition, COVID-19, we all, university and school are forced to use LMS or another media to deliver the e-learning. The integration of e-learning in education has shown disastrous result when it fails to achieve its goal due to the low level by educators, despite policy reform as the technology advance. Next, please, the slide. The traditional method of delivery is seen less applicable in today's modern education system. This is because the delivery process is seen as preventing students from developing their own learning methods and technique. The primary concern of education institution is improving the quality of teaching student academic performance. Yeah, there are many factors that influence students' learning, especially the use of learning techniques that help guide a student in right direction and change students' personal habits and situations. Next, in this next please slide. In this study, we implement TEM, Technology Acceptance Model, that founded by Fred Davis in 1989. And Davis model here aims to explore factors that have been identified as having an impact on people attitude and behavior in accepting information technology. So can you back to my slides? Yeah, committee, please back to my slides so the maybe the participant can read and listen the explanation. So we implement TEM to know the perceived usefulness and also attitude of the lecturer when they use the LMS or they teach by e-learning. In the model of the TEM, there are 5 main components, namely perceived usefulness, perceived ease of usefulness, perceived ease of use, and then attitude toward use, behavior intention, actual use to use IT. In this term, in this study, IT is e-learning system or LMS. However, the study was conducted using only perceived usefulness and attitude, only 2 that we consider in this study. Next slide. Perceived usefulness is a level of the consumer psychology to understand a particular system as performance enhancement has direct correlation with attitude and relationship with behavior intention to use the LMS. The model, so in the your monitor that consists of 5 main components that I already mentioned before. And next slide. The notion of usefulness, PU, is the level of acceptance of an individual who believes that the system is capable of positively impacted. Consumption is the user assessment of a matter. When a user feels that a system is useful, they will then assume that the system is useful for application. So when the COVID happens and then we forced to use LMS, e-learning, and then maybe in the next, sorry, in the next period, yeah, when we feel that is very useful, and then the usage of LMS will be increased because we enjoy more offer for students. Next, attitude toward use is an attitude that an individual demonstrate when using a system and promoting it in the learning process. Yes, attitude consists of influences, cognitions, behaviors that lead to positive reaction and are able to form the intention to use the system. Knowledge of the lectures, attitude toward the use of technology and their impact on their work performance is very helpful to in integrating technology into the teaching process. Next, please. Usability perception influence consumer attitude toward e-learning. When user finds the system useful, it will change their attitude. Perceived usefulness has a significant relationships with attitude toward e-learning, and intention to behave. So the objection of this study, the first one is to identify perceived usefulness of LMS used among lecturers, and second, to identify the attitude of lecturers toward the use of LMS, and hypothesis of the perceived usefulness is positively related to the attitude of the lecturers to the use of LMS. Next, method. The design of the study is using a quantitative study, which survey method. The study design is a data collection strategy used to collect data. The design of the study was aimed at providing the framework and activities for the data collection and analysis process to answer the research question that have been developed. The total population, we have 734 lecturers in the university, Malaysian University of C here, and the sample size, according to Critch and Morgan, we have 248. Yeah, next. Here the variable, we have two variable, perceived usefulness, and the main references that we used to construct a variable, and then attitudes, and also some references, two references there, and we use that to construct the variable in our instrument. Method of authenticating the content of the instrument used from two panels of experts in education. The analysis of the study use descriptive analysis and correlation. The interpretation of the mean score for a descriptive analysis is shown on the table 2, the table 2 in the right hand, the right side. Yeah. Next. Okay. We have the result here. From the objective 1 to identify perceived usefulness of of LMS used among a lecture. First, the mean score for the construction item perceived usefulness was modest, as the mean value was 3.32, while the standard deviation was 0.62. Objective 2, to identify the attitude of the lecturers toward the use of LMS. The mean score for the construct of attitude toward LMS use was modest, as the mean value was 3.03, while the standard deviation was 0.941. Yeah, you can see at the table later. And the hypothesis is perceived usefulness is positively related to the attitude of the lecturer to the use of LMS. Next. Yeah, the slide, please. Yeah, here the results, table 3 for the component of perceived usefulness of the LMS. We have a 14 variable there, item, and then table 4 at the right side, attitude toward the use of LMS. We have two item there. Next slides. The study found that 169 respondents had a negative attitude toward the use of a learning management system. The remaining 97 people have a positive attitude. Yeah. The results of the Spearman correlation test showed that there was a significant positive and moderate relationship between perceived usefulness and lecture attitudes. Therefore, the hypothesis is accepted as the positive perception positively associated with attitude A, lecture's attitude toward the use of the learning management system. Next, please. This back to my slide. The discussion, the impression of usability on LMS is at a moderate level. Findings in line with the Sakarji et al. 2019 and also Islam 2015 that state the learning is positive, which help in efficient information retrieval. Accessibility give LMS a high positive response from the lecturers. These findings were supported by Fauzi and Alizai 2019, Taat and Francis 2020, state that the ability to use wireless to have access or learning is carried out regardless of a location in one of positive advance of the application. The mean score for the lecturer attitude is moderate positive. Yeah, this finding is in line with Chakir and others research who found the participants' perceived value of learning was positive as well. In addition, the attitude of the lecturers through the use of LMS was mostly negative. This finding is contrary to Sayel and Rahman 2015 and Hussein 2017 states that consumer attitudes toward the use of e-learning system are positive. Okay, next. The highest score for the perceived usefulness of LMS is helps save times and on learning and programming with mean value score of 3.56. LMS is an effective web-based learning, especially to get a huge number of class students, and all the evident teaching and learning activities such as lecture notes, assignment, forum, quiz, and video conference is stored in the LMS as well. For the long learning distance is efficient, besides effective. Thus, LMS provide blended learning tools where not all the time lecturer have to meet the student for all the semester. Instead of having a lecture via face-to-face with the student, they can communicate with all students through the LMS platform to have online lecture online. Save the video learning online, having forum with the student and easy to trace those students who attend the online class through the LMS. While the benefit for the university academic management, the LMS are able to monitor the lecture activities in line with the Industrial Revolution 4.0 for education and accessible for accreditation process, where the LMS can retrieve all the evidence of teaching and learning activities. Okay, therefore, the perceived usefulness of the LMS not only satisfy of saving time, this is the highest score, and on the learning and programming for the lecturer, but also cater the need of the students and university academic management. This is the normal condition. Yeah. For the pandemic condition like this in the COVID-19, yeah, of course, the level of needs is increasing and increasing. Next, the second highest mean score is 3.53 for perceived usefulness, is an effective and efficient learning and facilitating tool because of the so the lecture feel that LMS makes the learning process is more efficient and effective. While the perceived usefulness for easy to uploading the material is the third highest mean score, while the lecture do not have any problem to upload the teaching and learning document, and student able to download material that they require. On the other hand, the lowest mean score is about 2.41 for perceived usefulness is network system are not easy to break down, which fall under moderate level, because maybe in the past there's some problem in the system, sometime down, frequently occurred breakdown. So this item have the lowest score. Next, for the on the other hand, the result for the attitude. Next slide. Attitude for toward the use of LMS, where the mean value is 3.03. Yeah, with the modest level. However, the findings of the study participant attitude toward the use of the e-learning is modest, because may change in a positive manner if the learning management system meet current user needs. Lecturers' attitude toward technology and their impact on their work performance have been helpful in integrating technology that is more relevant to the teaching process. The negative attitude can be solved if the learning management system able to cater the hardware of the specification, especially in the internet and network. Next, please. Yeah. So this study helped the management of the university to understand the LMS performance and integrate it into the system in line with the current needs of the lecturer, especially because this study investigate from the teacher or lecturer's perspective. Yeah. So this study helps management or university management to understand the LMS performance and integrate to the system in line with the current needs of the lecturer, especially launching learning and facilitating session. Yeah. This study also helps the lecturer to state the actual performance of existing LMS system for ICT in terms of its usefulness. This directly helps the lecturer use LMS without having difficulties in furthering each and every case of the learning process. This indirect effect will influence the perspective, perception, and attitude of the lecturer, thus encourage them to use LMS more proactively. Yeah. Next, conclusion. The perceive of usefulness to the conclusion, please. Slide. Perceive of usefulness to the LMS generally plays a very important role in the influencing the level lecturer acceptance. Through feedback from the respondents expressed, it was found that most respondents expressed agreement on the usefulness of the system. However, the level of attitude expressed by lecturer is modest. Furthermore, the attitude toward the use of LMS certainly has a strong influence on the perceived usefulness of the lecturers. This can be seen when there is a positive relationship between the two attitude variables and their perceived usefulness. So the successful factor of the use of LMS required a good software application that able to manage the administration, documentation, tracking, reporting, and delivery of the educational courses and blended learning as well. Have a good specification of hardware in terms of provide stable data center or cloud system. They're stored in the system. So I think that's all for the presentation. The idea is even though later COVID is disappear, then LMS maybe will be implemented in the future much higher in the level because the needs of the lecturer and also student, and this era is the era of the digital era. So all of the university perhaps provide this system for the daily lecture, daily learning. I think that's all. Thank you very much for your attention. I back to the moderator. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks, Mr. Adam Jerusalem, for informative presentation. And just a reminder, please be sure to type your questions into the question box in your control panel. And now, the second speaker will be Professor Erwin Sulaiman, Professor of Mechanical Engineering Department, International Islamic University, Malaysia. He is a technical manager of International Islamic University, Malaysia Impedance Tube Lab for ISO 17025. He accomplished his PhD in aerospace engineering in Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University, USA. In 2019, he has published 9 articles on Scopus Index. One of them is titled Conceptual Design of FDM 3D Printers Heated Bed Leveling Tool by using TRIS Inventive Solution Approach. Okay, so please welcome Professor Erwin Sulaiman. Time is yours.
Thank you for the introduction. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning to everybody here. Selamat siang ya, sudah siang. Terima kasih atas undangannya untuk memberikan pembicaraan untuk masalah ini. Karena background saya adalah dari penerbangan, jadi mohon maaf saya akan menyampaikan sedikit share tentang teknik penerbangan jadinya. Tapi I like to say that because this is Paris Van Java conference, I think this should be relevant because Paris Panjava has one aircraft industry which is well known not only in Asia but also with others. I worked there for more than 15 years, and then Alhamdulillah now I take my pension, and then I work in Kuala Lumpur now. So my title is Introduction to Load and Aeroelasticity of Air Vehicle System. Okay, go this slide. Okay, the overview is I like to share 4 topics here. What is air vehicle system? And then because, as I said before, I think it is good for us to look at what is the aerospace and then what kind of field in aerospace engineering, the one that in PVJ-I, PT Dirgantara Indonesia has. And then especially we will look at into more special case, which is in load and aeroelasticity. Okay, I'm sorry, somebody take the okay, I think let's somebody take the share file. Let me return back again to my screen. Okay, thank you. So let me modify a little bit this one here. Okay, so air vehicle system. Air vehicle system usually consists of 2, aircraft and UFV. You know, UFV is unmanned air vehicle, which is very popular now because of the usefulness of this aircraft. It means that there is no man there in the aircraft. So let me somehow missing some of the slide. Okay, this is the aerospace industry in Indonesia. Actually, if you look at the slide, this is in Sukamiskin, one of the Dutch engineer in 1904. As we know that actually the first aircraft in the world is in US, which is flight by Wright brothers. It is in 1903, but I think less of us knows that in 1904 we have already the aircraft. Actually, as you saw in the picture, in 1904, one of the Dutch engineer, Ingenieur Onen, did the first research using bamboo. So he used bamboo. Maybe we thought no, it is like kite, but the intention is for aircraft structure. And then in 1912, let me go into more detail here. In 1912, we use bamboo and buffalo skin to do the aircraft, again by Dutch. In 1914 in Surabaya, Prof. Flieg Afdeling performed qualification flight tests for European aircraft. Of course, this one here is not our aircraft, the one that you saw here. It is European aircraft. This is during the World War I, right, near World War I. But they did the flight test there in Surabaya. And then we have here, sorry, let me return back. Aerosport Club established in Solo, Madiun, Bandung, and Palembang to design the simple aircraft, something like the one that you saw here. And then finally, in 1923, now we established in Sukamiskin. Sukamiskin is near in Bandung. Okay, so in Bandung. And then this is the first time that the first aircraft is established, and the one who did is Ingenieur Gastra, CEO of that company. Of course, it is very still simple manufacturing aircraft. Now in 1924, Andir also it is near our Hussein Sastranegara Airport in Bandung. They moved it from Sukamiskin to Andir, Bandung. And then in 1930s, they start aircraft maintenance, assembly, and modification of many aircraft of Dutch, of course, at the time. At the time, the first Indonesian involved, which is Mr. Taklim, Indonesian. They designed a trainer aircraft with single and twin engines. And then first order of the aircraft sent to Amsterdam, to Dutch there. This is before World War II. So one of the aircraft is designed from Bandung, actually. Look at the hangar there. It is look like the hangar which is in Hussein, that's hangar. Okay, of course, by 1945, let me put here somewhere. 1945, these facilities will be taken by our Indonesian Air Force, Angkatan Udara Indonesia. Okay, let me go further. And finally, the first glider was designed by Wibeco and Nurtanio. Both of them are from the Air Force, right? Indonesian Air Force, and was tested in Madiun. You can see here that the name Nurtanio here is becoming the name of the industry, in the aircraft industry later on. Okay, the first aircraft designed by Wibeco Supeno performed first flight. This is in 1950s, something like that. And then, and so on, okay? Here, President Sukarno give a speech when on the first aircraft industry here. Okay. By this time, Indonesian students started studying in Dutch and Germany to study aerospace. Okay, so including the one that we know, Prof. Habibi. Okay, so they studied by that time. So it means that actually our aircraft industry has been started before. Not a new thing for Bandung people to see that one. Just like in US, there is a city, we call it Dayton City. I took my master there. For them, to see the aircraft in 1903, 04, 05 is common, because Wright brothers stay there, and then they perform the flight test on the sky of Dayton. Okay, the trainer aircraft Sikumbang, designed by Nurtanio, as you see here. You can see that we have done actually in our Indonesian. And then gyrocopter also designed by Nurtanio. This one is 1964. If you remember, maybe you see the movie by I think James Bond, right? You can see that there is a gyrocopter there. It is similar like that. It has been also designed by Nurtanio. Okay. So there are many of our pioneer on this aerospace engineering. Okay, we have in 1969, Nurtanio was passed away because of during the flight test. Okay, and actually later on, there are some of Indonesian pilots also passed away during the flight test or aerobatic demo, right? So, and then the one that we see before, lembaga penerbangan here started to change to what we call it LIPNUR, Nurtanio Aircraft Industry. Okay, you can see that this is very small, still very small aircraft. Okay, now is the modern era here. Sorry. Okay, so this is when Prof. Habibi was finally returned back to Indonesia, and then he started to establish IPTN at the time. Okay, the name of the aircraft industry. The same thing situated near the Hussein Sastranegara. And then, of course, the first one is we develop NC212. This is, we just NC212, we just assemble it. Actually, it is made by Spanish, but we assemble it. And then later on, we manufacture part of the aircraft, and then we assemble it. So, and then after that, why this go there? CN235, the second picture here. CN235 is a cooperation between IPTN, Indonesia, and Spain, CASA, right? So half of them was designed by us, but the other half designed by CASA, Spain. Okay, and this aircraft is still flying until now. We use it if in Malaysia here, the CN235, we have the VIP version of the CN235. It is used until now, and the logbook is still full. And then after that, we go further, N250, okay, and N250. Look at also the number of manpower, started from just roughly 300 to I think the picture is slightly okay 1,600. Actually, more than that, 16,000. I think wrong picture here of the manpower. Okay, so it goes there. Okay, and then now is the, as we know that we have the first flight, and the first flight of N250 here at the time, still before the Asian financial crisis. But then after that, we have the Asian financial crisis in 1997. And then Indonesia is under crisis. So that in 2003, there is no other way, the IPTN, the IPTN lockdown. Okay, so we locked down, and then the manpower reduced by only a quarter, 24%. But at the time, I just finished my PhD and then started at PTDI. IPTN before, and then changed it the name to PTDI, PT Dirgantara Indonesia. So my job, first one is to help designing one jet aircraft. We call it NMX VLG, very light jet. This is for business aircraft. The aircraft is actually the customer is a Malaysian company, Aeronimbus, but the company bankrupt. So we just finished until preliminary design. We didn't manufacture it, but we are ready to go for the detailed design. Actually, we have finished with the calculation, everything. You can see the picture, and then we don't give up. We continue with the N219 program. I think this is the one that performing flight test right now, N219. So at the time we began the program. It is for 19 passenger aircraft. In 2009, we have a share collaboration with the Korea. So we developed a fighter aircraft. And this one is still continued until now, the program. KFX, Korean fighter aircraft, and Indonesian fighter aircraft. And then I think this one here is 2019. Last year, the PTDI also with collaboration with others manufacture the MALE UFV. MALE is medium altitude, long endurance unmanned air vehicle. Okay, so this is something like this. So we can see that okay, and then I think last year Prof Habibie passed away. So that is the one that we have right now. We will see after pandemic year what happened with our aerospace engineering So I like to share now what is in the aircraft industry. What is the one that component which is very important. The first one is of course engineering, manufacturing, maintenance, and don't forget that we have business and management here, because this is also very important for the continuing of this aircraft industry. Of course, there is R&D. This one is always there. Okay, this is what happened in the aircraft industry. We have what we call it in the business process of the aircraft industry. From market need, we have usually we like, for example, N219. What is the market need? The market need is like this. Because in Irian, for example, it is the sum of the price in the remote area is very high. For example, the food or the cement, the one for building, is very high, the price. The reason is because of the transportation, and it is very difficult to cannot be just ordinary aircraft. So that's why the market need there is to design an aircraft which can land in a simple airport. Okay, so something like no need to be prepare an airport. I mean, the runway no need to be has asphalt there. Maybe just the field of the football field, lapangan sepak bola. We can use it to land the aircraft and to take off the aircraft. We can use that one. Okay, so that is the market need. So we designed that aircraft, which is to N219. And then we go with the engineering. We design the sizing, everything. This is the one that we will discuss, the engineering part. And so on. After manufacturing, then we have the production. And don't forget that the aircraft should be certified. We have what call it type certificate, production certificate, and airworthiness certificate. This one here is very mandatory. So it means that somebody, one government body will check our aircraft, whether the aircraft is safe or no. Okay? And then after that, we manufacture it, and then go to the airline operation and so on. So Alhamdulillah, as far as I know, the N219 has many orders, inshallah. Okay, I like to continue with the engineering because this is the one that related to our topics now, engineering. So in the aircraft engineering, what are there? In the aircraft engineering, there are many parts here. The first one is product development, we call it. The product development group has several departments or division: flight physics, flight structure, flight system. And there is also test, the test of the aircraft, because this is for the certification. So the certification body need to see the proof. So then we need to have a test. So of course, we have certification division there and maintenance. Okay, I will continue more to one part only here because it will be too long. Flight structure only. Okay, the flight structure has several parts here. Flight structure has what we call it structure design, and then structure analysis. So the one that we will work is more on the load and aeroelasticity here. There are two parts here: load and aeroelasticity. So this is the one that I say before in the aircraft engineering. What is this? You have flight control, landing gear system, configuration design, avionic, and so on, propulsion. So we will go just to the structure. So as I said before, we will continue with the load and aeroelasticity part. Load, no. What kind of load that we need to investigate for our aircraft? So we have here flight load, ground load, emergency load, all of the load that possible to exist on the aircraft during the flight or during in the ground. Okay. So what is this? Usually the flight load division will give the data to structure analysis. and also to the flight test, because we ask, for example, for the flight test pilot to do some maneuvering, maximum pull-up maneuver, bank maneuver, rolling maneuver, and so on. And of course, after that, we need to show it to the certification body to check. And then, of course, after that, we need to help also on the operating manual of the book. Okay, so here we have some something that aircraft load has the responsibility. The first one is to find what is possible forces or moment or load on all components of the aircraft: wing, fuselage, control surface, flap, aileron, rudder, elevator, and so on. So this one is very important for safety and optimum sizing. As we know that to make it safe, we can just increase the size of the component. But for aircraft, we cannot do that, because if your sizing is too big, then the aircraft is too heavy. 1 gram is, let's say that you increase by 1 gram in your aircraft is considered a big challenge. Let's say that in CN235, I want to add something, and that one is just like changing, let's say 1 kilogram, for example. That addition will need many consideration for the safety issue and so on. Okay, so it is a big deal. Adding 1 kilogram only to the existing aircraft is a big deal. Okay, the aircraft load department also responsible to find what we call it VC. The VC is the velocity during the cruise. This is the maximum operating speed, and VD, dive speed. Okay. So let me return back to the VC. VC is something like if you have a car and then you have a speedometer. So your speedometer of the car, say 200 kilometers per hour, for example. That is VC of your car. So VC is the maximum operating speed of the aircraft. Cannot be the pilot fly by maximum throttle, propeller engine. You put the gas to go beyond maximum operating speed. Okay, so we call it VC. So usually this VC here is has a marketing value. Just like if your car, let's say that the salesman introduced that your car, your new car has a maximum speed of, let's say, 250 kilometers per hour, which is good. It means that your car can drive very fast. Okay, so it means that VC here is important as has a marketing value. Okay. Here is flight load. I think my time is running out. I will continue. I will just move to another part. I will continue. Okay. Now I will go to the last part now, which is we call it aeroelasticity. What is aeroelasticity? This group here is a combination of, the analysis of between structure and aerodynamic. Usually in the aeroelastic group here, we are studying both of them, structure and fluid. Okay, so one of the example here is, let me click. I think the movie I need to download here. One of the example of the aeroelasticity is something like this. I think you may know it. This is a bridge in Seattle, built in 1940s. Look at the bridge here, suspension bridge. At the time, it is the third longest bridge in the world. But the design is wrong. Look at here. there is a wind. The wind is moderate, actually, not that big, but rotating the bridge like this. This one is real. The movie here is real. Somebody make a movie of this bridge here. So this bridge here is near Seattle until the bridge is crashed. So at the time, you can see the picture. You can see also the wind is not that strong. You can see that the tree is not moving that much. But look at the bridge. The bridge is behaving like that. Okay, so the bridge here is still new, only 4 months after the construction, and then in 1940s November it crashed. You can see the crash later on. This is the car, and then yeah. I'm sorry. The quality of the movie is not that not that good at the time. No casualties in this problem because the last passengers here started to crash. Here. Look at here. So this is what we call it aeroelasticity. Aeroelasticity is the interaction between aerodynamic, wind, and the structure. So that is the test that aircraft should overcome. Okay, I will stop the movie. I will return back again. Let me share again my screen. I will take another one. I think the link is somehow crashed. Let me return back here. I think this one here. This is in 2007, UFV aircraft. During the competition. Look at the UFV here. Here. Destroy. Yeah. So what happened is the aircraft at the time flying too fast, and then the structure cannot sustain the load, and then destroy. Okay, so this is what we call it aeroelasticity, the one that we will study in the. Sorry, I will return back to my presentation. Okay, here. So what should we do if we want to avoid that kind of failure? So all aircraft should satisfy the standard requirement related to aeroelastic instability. The standard requirement here is in US, we call it FAR, Federal Aviation Regulation. In Europe is CS, Certification Standard. And UK is BCAR, British Civil Aviation Regulation. Indonesia is TISA, okay, and so on. And then how to, I'm sorry, Mr. Safruddin screen. Please, you took the screen. Okay, I will continue here. So the mean of compliance is with the analysis. Usually, how to comply with this standard of regulation here? We go with what we call it FAR regulation. So we perform analysis, and finally we need to do some tests also. Okay, what kind of analysis that we need to do? This is the first one is static aeroelastic analysis, and then dynamic stability analysis and dynamic response analysis. Okay, so everything we need to consider for possible any instability to the aircraft. The one that you saw before in for the bridge and for the UFV problem is flutter, so flutter problem. But any other also has some possibility, something like gas load also, and so on. So usually in the analysis here, no. So I will go first with the analysis. In the analysis, usually we use finite element equation here. Okay, finite element equation and boundary element equation to go for the analysis. I will not go into detail. Actually, my PhD is mostly on this solving this type of problem. So in the analysis, we need to approximate the aerodynamic load on the aircraft. Okay, so for example, here I use doublet lattice method. The one that used in NASA structural analysis is Rodin method. I use for my PhD, I use doublet lattice method. We need to what type of problem I need to use or solve this type of problem. I can just simplify in this equation. Okay, this is, we call it kernel function. There is one special function in here, which is what we call it incomplete cylindrical function. Incomplete cylindrical function here, none of the first one who developed this one here doesn't know how to solve this type of problem. The one who solved this problem is Ueda from Japan. So he this is his solution, okay, in this problem. So I modified the solution here for my PhD. This is my modification and so on. I think I will just pass it to see some validation of the method. So I developed the method, and then this is my method, present PLM, present PLM. The important one is here in the right-hand side. My lift calculation is 2.94, for example. Both of them with Gauss elimination or LU decomposition, 2.94. Nissim Lotati is from Israel, Haifa. So he calculated 2.95. VLM, Nasran 3.00. So it means that we can say that it is okay. The type of the wing here is fighter wing as shown here. It is another type of wing. Here is the wing here can be switched. I mean can swap back and forward the wing here. Okay. So my calculation is 3.199, something like that, if I use this one here. And then other authors give this number, okay, this calculation here. It means that our calculation is okay, not, within the less than, let's say, 2% zero error if we consider with others. Okay, as I said before, we have what we call it analysis, and then later on we need also what we call it test. Okay, so the test has two. One is component test, for example, just aileron only, or just rudder only, or just hydraulic only, for example. Another one is we need a full aircraft test. So for aircraft test, the full aircraft test has two parts. One is ground test, the other one is flight test. The first one, for example, structure test. This is taken from Boeing website. Look at this wing here. This is the aircraft, one of the Boeing aircraft. Okay, look at here. This is the wing, the one that with the color wedge here. They pull the wing until maximum. Look at here, the deflection here. The aircraft should be still strong for this type of condition. This is what we call it extreme condition. Okay, so so that's why it is we need to prove it to the authority, to the body that that want to certify our aircraft. So including for all of our aircraft, CN235 and 250. Okay, all of them need to do this kind of structure test. this aircraft is real aircraft. Of course, without any paint, everything, because no need, but because this is for the structure test. And then I will go to the last part of my presentation, which is what we call it the flight test, flight flutter test. The flight flutter test is perhaps the most dangerous test of the aircraft. The reason is because I put the regulation statement here. I didn't put all of them actually. I just take some part of it. The reason is like this. We need to perform the test just like as on here. Let me just go here. Let's say that the pilot fly the aircraft, and then at this part here, the pilot should push the speed up to the maximum speed possible. If you have a car, for example, you need to push your car. Let's say the maximum speed of your car is in the speedometer is 200 kilometers per hour, for example. You need to push the gas, the acceleration up to that 200, and then keep it. Don't lose the acceleration. And then after that, the aircraft should go dive. Like that until 25% of the speed. So 1.25 of the VC. If you can do this one here, then you pass the flight flutter test. So this one here is considered the most dangerous one because of the dive speed here is beyond the maximum speed of the aircraft. Anyway, we have the flight test facility here. So for the critical test here, usually we perform it in the Indian Ocean, like shown there. We have some, so of course the aircraft will be monitored. This is N250 aircraft, for example. The N250 aircraft here above the Indian Ocean will be monitored by the tower here. We have the tower in Bandung, and then the satellite, and then the SATCOM antenna in Cisolok that monitor the data of this aircraft here, all the data here during the test. Okay, I like to go to the conclusion. I like to say that air vehicle system is a multidisciplinary field that cover many subjects, many fields. Air vehicle system should follow airworthiness certification standard to guarantee the safety of the product. Indonesia, alhamdulillah, has the capability to design this FES following the standard, including the most difficult one that I saw you before, the flight flutter test. We have the facility to perform that one. So of course, it needs a special effort to maintain this capability. Okay, I think I like to conclude my presentation. Thank you for attending the presentation. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks, Professor Erwin, for inspiring presentation. And for all participants, please ask your question in chat if you want to join our discussion. And our third speaker is Professor Dr. M.D. Makmun Habib. He is a professor at School of Business, Independent University, Bangladesh. In addition, Dr. Habib is the visiting scientist of University of Texas, Arlington, USA. He is also the editor and chief in International Journal of Supply Chain Management, London, UK, Scopus Index. He has more than 18 years experience in the field of teaching as well as in training, workshops, consultancy, and research. At present, he is supervising some PhD students at locally and internationally. As a researcher, Professor Habib published about 140 research papers, including conference proceedings, journal articles, and book chapters or books. Also, he delivers lecture as keynote speaker at 50 international conferences at various countries, particularly Taiwan, USA, China, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, Turkey, Korea, India, UK, Italy, and etc. He received Best Track Chair Award at IEOM 2012 conference. His core research areas are supply chain management, production and operation management, operation research, research methodology, engineering management, technology management, and educational management. He is involved with QS World University Ranking and Times Higher Education Ranking as an academician. Okay, without further ado, please welcome Professor Dr. M.D. Ma'mun Habib. Time and place are yours.
Thank you so much. Can I get the host facility so that I can show my slide? So can you see my slide?
Yeah.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I
Yeah.
can see.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So first of all, I'd like to give a special thanks for inviting me to deliver the keynote speech. And in fact, it would be better if we could do the physical attendance in the conference so that the audiences, we can get a good interaction. However, due to the COVID-19, now we are in the lockdown stage. So basically today, my discussion on the supply chain management is future trends. When we delivered the keynote speech in the international conference, one of the key target is that our young scholars, one of the key target is that audiences, those will be do the further research. So today I try to get some emphasize on that supply chain research in the future, so that the audiences, some of them, especially the PhD scholars, they have to feel interested that how can do the pursue this PhDs in future. And even the professor, those that supervising the PhD student, they also think about the new idea generation from supply chain management. I like to start by this way that but if you think of the supply chain management, I believe here some of the audience you never heard about the supply chain management term, or maybe the most of the audience you have a familiarity. So I just give the brief idea about the supply chain management. When you think any kind of supply chain management, we have to think the three basic entities. One is the raw materials, finished product, suppliers, customers, flow of goods, flow of goods for the manufacturing industry, and flow of service for the service industry, flow of information, and finally the flow of fund. So when you design any kind of supply chain model, then we have to answer these two things. We have to answer these three basic entities. You know that I mentioned here, flow of goods is for the manufacturing industry, and flow of service for the service industry. Basically, this is that one basic supply chain for the manufacturing industry. I don't want to spend more time on that. I just meant the main key point, what I said just now. First of all, we need the raw materials that will come from the supply end. And we need the finished product that will deliver to the customer end. And then what you said that you have to need the supplier. We have the supplier, we have the customer. And the flow of goods is the flow of goods, and flow of information, we need the integrated information. And flow of fund means flow of money. Without the money transaction, we cannot do any kind of sell and buy. And now come to the question is that the remaining three part, the manufacturer, distributor, retailer. Whether the manufacturer, distributor, retailer will be available or not, it depends on the size of the business, the type of the business. Say if the new industry, suppose new pharmaceutical industry, so they have need this only this manufacturer, means factory.
Ini lagi musim CLBK nih.
Supplier, manufacturer, and then directly go to the customer. If it is a medium type of production, the size volume is medium type, then you have to need the supplier, manufacturer, retailer, and customer. And if it is a large scale, any kind of production size, say the Tesco or Walmart, in that case, you have to need the supplier, manufacturer, factory, distributor, those responsible distribution channel, and finally the outlet. And so that it means that what I said that whether the manufacturer, distributor, retailer will be available or not, it depends on the size and the type of the business. I just remind you again our basic entities, what I said last slide. We need the raw material, we need the finished product, we need the supplier, we need the customer, we need the flow of goods for manufacturing industry, flow of information, and flow of fund. Basically, this is the basic supply chain for the service industry. I believe that you know that what is the meaning of the manufacturing industry and service industry. Manufacturing industry example is that ready-made garments industry, textile industry, food industry. If you think about the textile, this steel industry, sugar industry, salt industry, this is all a manufacturing industry. On the other hand, the service industry example is that we know that suppose hospital supply chain management or education supply chain management, tourism supply chain management, something like that. So now come to the point is that if it is the service industry supply chain, the same things, we need the supplier, we need the customer, we need the raw materials to come from the supply end, after the processing finished product delivered to the customer end. And then what he said just a few minutes before, the flow of service will be there. And flow of information, we must need the flow of information. And finally, the flow of fund, flow of money. This is a service provider. If it's a hospital supply chain manager, this is a hospital. If it is a university supply chain management or education supply chain management, this is the education institutions. So now come to the question is that what is the difference between the manufacturing supply chain and the service industry supply chain? If you look very carefully here, we divided manufacturing and service industry, but there is another category called it profitable organization, non-profitable organization. So basically, manufacturing industry is a profitable organization, and service industry is a non-profitable organization. So this is the most important key point. And secondly, manufacturing industry, you can understand the output, finished product, you can recognize, you can realize, you can visualize. But the service industry, it is difficult to understand the outcome. So we call it the intangible. So manufacturing industry, the finished product is the tangible, but service industry intangible. Sometimes you can understand the output, you cannot determine the output, you cannot measure the output. But that what you said there, that's why there's some difference. And another one, what I said earlier, manufacturing industry, they are the profit organization, but service industry non-profit organization. That's why you never say the service industry that your main target to enhance the profit, to get the more profit. So service industry, suppose hospital supply chain management or education supply chain management. What we can say? We can say our target to contribute to the society, our target to produce that well-being of the society. So whatever we do in the service industry, it ultimately target the society. How we could add values to the society. The society is that end customer, end user, final customer, final user. So that is the representing the consumer. So that's why you can see in the service industry, we add the another values that consumer. So the what he said that the consumer in the society. So this is the basic difference between the manufacturing industry and service industry. As we are talking about the future trend, that's why I like to clarify initially about the manufacturing supply chain and service industry supply chain. These examples I already mentioned. These are a few examples what I said earlier. Some examples of the manufacturing and service industry. This is the basically definition of supply chain management, the sequence of organization, their facilities, function, activities that are involved in producing and delivering a product or service. So producing and delivering a product and service, this product means manufacturing industry, the service means service industry. So come to the next question, what type of facilities? What type of function activities? So let me discuss about this one in the next two slides. What type of facility we need it in the supply chain? What type of function activity we need it in the supply chain? You know, if anybody asks me what is supply chain, I just try to say the easy way. This is the one chain. This is the one chain that will start from the supply end that will finish the customer end. So that means that now how come to the this kind of chain and how we can maintain this kind of chain? That is the supply chain management. So you understand our target, the chain will start from the supply end, the chain will finish the customer end. So supply end will get the raw material for and customer end will get the finished product. So now come to the question how we will manage this chain. That is something what I said here. Say the few facilities. These few facilities are required there in the supply chain. Warehouse. Basically, warehouse or inventory, we call it the storage. So you have to ensure that there must be the storage. This is storage of the raw materials, the storage of the finished product, this is storage of the unfinished product as well. Factory is the manufacturer, what I said earlier. This is the place where you have to produce a production. Processing center is also part of the manufacturing. A distribution center, I think in the last slide, I also mentioned that distribution channel. So you have to ensure the distribution center will be there. Those will be responsible how they will send the product to the retailer, how they'll send the product to the outlet. If you come to the example of the Tesco or outlet, or Tesco, the Walmart, how they're doing this one, the distribution channel. Retail outlet, basically this is the next stage after the distribution channel. So basically the one distribution channel, they're responsible for 5 to 10 outlet. So they're responsible how they send the product and how they receive the product in the outlet. This is the responsibility of the distributor as well. And we are talking about the offices. This is basically offices. I think you understand the manufacturer, distributor, retail, whatever you say, all other one kind of office. So without this one, you cannot do this chain. And now this comes to there are some function activities which are involved in the supply chain. When you design the supply chain, you have to understand these function activities. You have to need to think. You remember I mentioned the term the supply chain that will start from supply and finish to the customer end. So the first thing, the supply and demand. So how are you going to determine the supply and demand? So that is we needed the forecasting. I would like to remind you one issue that is very important in that sense. What would be your raw material supply? It depends on your previous few years data. So you have to review the previous few years data. Based on that demand, you have to check what will be the raw material supply for this year. Forecasting. Purchasing basically is a part of the procurement. How the factory they'll take that raw materials for the different type of suppliers. How they will do this kind of purchasing, procurement. Inventory management. You remember I mentioned earlier, inventory is one kind of storage, but how you manage the storage, inventory management. Information management. You remember when this today started my lecture, I mentioned flow of information. So how we manage this information? Basically, we called it a MIS system. We have to need the integrated information, management information system. And it means that all information will be visible. At any end, you can see. During the COVID-19, is very important discussion of the supply chain due to this one only for the flow of information. You are in the customer end, you are in the distribution channel end, you are in the retailer end, you are in the factory end, you are the supplier. But you like to see whether the raw materials they're using, what is the condition, how about the product condition, something like this. So all information will be visible. We call this very important integrated information. And then quality assurance, definitely quality is a major issue. How you have to ensure the quality. You know that suppose the Indonesia, we assume that Java or something like that is very the tourist place. So in this place, if you go for the shopping, how they'll treat you the customer. They try to make the best service, quality assurance, this one. But on the other hand, the non-tourist country is difficult to get it. So this quality assurance is very important. You have to think how you can add the values to every aspect, including the customer service. Scheduling. Basically, scheduling is responsible for the on-time delivery, on-time product, on-time the delivery, and on-time you have to supply, on-time the distribution channel delivery, everywhere. Because you have to ensure that every stage is how you are maintaining the scheduling, how you are maintaining this the delivery time, how you are maintaining the production time, everything. So it's very important scheduling. And then production delivery, I think you already mentioned, this is a part of so the scheduling. And finally, the customer service. I mentioned that is very important. How you deal with the customer. So tourist place, they know it very well, but the other place they do not know it very well. So what I said that this kind of function activities you have to think when you think about any supply chain. You are the supply chain director. You are doing some of the responsibility of the supply chain. You have to think how you could ensure this kind of functions activities in the within the your supply chain. So I just go back to this slide. What I said there, the sequence of organization, the facilities, we discuss the facilities, the function activities, we discuss the function activities that are involved in producing and delivering product or service. So now come to the historical evolution of supply chain management. Basically, this is the evolution timeline of supply chain management. If you ask me that why I'm discussing this one, because I like to show the way that how the supply chain they're working on that. Basically, if you ask anybody what is supply chain, they will say that at first the logistic management. In fact, the logistic is a previous version of the supply chain management. So that's why I said that when you start this one concept of supply chain management, you have to know this evolution timeline. Around the 1950s, supply chain management started by the name of the logistic management. And then about the 1970s, they matured the logistic concept. So they matured the logistic concept. If you search the book on supply chain management, still you can get the logistic book. So this is very popular with the supply chain management. And then around the 1970 to 1980s, this is the time that logistics incorporated supply chain management. And officially supply chain management started their journey in around the 1980s. So you understand now 2020, 1980s, they started their journey, only 40 years. Basically 40 years research is nothing in terms of the research era. So that's why you see that it's a very new concept of supply chain management. And you know, I always mention any kind of theory and concept is started from the USA. And then after the theory development, that it will transfer to the Europe or Asian developed country like the Singapore or Japan, they'll absorb. Then this kind of theory goes to the like India region, subcontinent, and then India region they will circulate to the other places nearby to the India. So that is the way that how we are getting the theory. It's not like that there's one theory started, it will start in all over the world. No, no, not like that. So that's why this is a historical perspective. We can see this now. So supply chain officially started the journey in 1980s. And then basically after the 1980s, the supply chain management research is going on in the manufacturing industry. It's very interesting. I'll discuss in the next slide that why the lots of research on the manufacturing industry. And that time the most of the research of the materials flow, the flow of goods, how they will transfer the product, how they will transfer the flow, something like that. And then 1985, officially supply chain management, they started their journey in the service industry. So look very carefully. Supply chain management in the service industry started the journey in 1985. Professor Farney, he developed the own model, supply chain management model for the National Health Service. That is one of the milestone in the supply chain management service industry. You notice that I mentioned supply chain management started their journey by the name of the logistic management in 1950s. And they started their journey in the army, in the defense. Defense people, they're using the first time, and they're using this concept of logistic management. And then 2007, Professor Lau, he developed another model, education supply chain management. This is another milestone in the service and supply chain management, education supply chain. But the problem is that in that model, Professor Lau, he developed the supply chain model for the education institution based on the City University of Hong Kong. As that was the case study, that's why it's not the officially recognized. So then 2009, ITESA model was developed. This is also the integrated tertiary educational supply chain management model. This is supply chain management model for the education institutions. But this is the first empirical study. It's not the business case study, so that any university can apply this ITSA model. So education supply chain management model. So this is a very significant evolution timeline of supply chain management. And now I think, especially the young scholars and PhD supervisors, those who are supervisors, PhD master thesis students, you have to think that why you have to give the more emphasis on supply chain management due to the innovation of supply chain management. You know that this very interesting thing is that what I said just now, that manufacturing industry, most of the research on the manufacturing industry, about the 87% research on supply chain management in the field of manufacturing, and only 13% research supply chain management in the service industry. So this is the one vacuum. And that is, this vacuum must be filled up by our young scholars. So I'd like to request the young scholar to think about supply chain management in the service industry. This is some example, supply chain management in the manufacturing industry. I don't want to talk too much. This is the one example, supply chain management in the ready-made garments industry. This is supply chain management in the fishing industry. This is supply chain management in the textile industry. So that means they're already available. So let's move to the service industry. You see that I already mentioned that only 13% research on supply chain management on the service industry. So that's why we have to give the more attention towards that. So there is one thing is that tourism supply chain. This is the tourism supply chain model. So it means that suppose those countries, the tourist countries, they can apply this tourism supply chain. It's how they can add the more values to the society. You remember earlier I mentioned in the manufacturing industry, your main target to enhance the profit, your main target to how you can increase the profit. And on the other hand, the service industry, main target, how you could add the values to the society by producing your products. That is your target in the tourism supply chain, how you could add the values to the society, to the country. Basically, this is we are now talking about another example. What I said that education supply chain model. We'll discuss a little bit about the integrated tertiary educational supply chain management model, ITESA model. I just remind you again that this is very important discussion in that sense, so that we can understand how we can apply that supply chain management model for the other service industry as well. This is a holistic view of education supply chain. If you look very carefully, there is we call it the two input in the service provider, university. One is the internal and external research project, and the students, those will work as a raw materials as per the supply chain concept. And then there are the two finished product, one for the like graduate and its outcomes, and finally that will contribute to the society. So if you look very carefully, this is the raw materials, and that is the process after the finished product. So that means the education supply chain holistic view, you can see the two input and the two output. And this is a simplified form of supply chain management for the university. If you look very carefully, this is a supplier, this is a service provider, this is a customer, this is a consumer. A few minutes before I show you the one basic supply chain model for the service industry. So look very careful how we are applying that one now. So if you look here, there we divided the supply into two segments, education supply and research supplier. I'll give some example next slide. And in the university, we have 4 activities. One is education development, education assessment, research development, research assessment. What you say, when if you do any kind of development in the university, we have to ensure the assessment. So that means that the development assessment concurrently. That's why you say education development and education assessment. You can launch the new program, but you have to confirm the quality of the programs. You can do the lots of research, but then you have to confirm that what is the quality of the research. Today we are doing this conference, an online conference. Now the question will be there, how we can publish the papers in the ISA in the journal, Scopus in the journal, peer-reviewed journal. So that is the way how we can add the values to the conference. So that's why we call it research assessment. And then there's a customer, divided the customer into 2 segments, education customer and research customer as well. And finally, that will contribute to the consumer, the society. You remember earlier I mentioned that raw materials, the 2 raw materials, one is the student and the international research project, and there will be the 2 finished product, graduates and its outcomes. Basically, this is the integrated supply chain for the universities. If you look very carefully, we divided this one in the 2 segments. This is the segment we divided this one. The top side is the education supply chain, and bottom side is research supply chain. If you see the top education supply chain, then education supplier, then it's a student supply input, raw materials, then the university education development, education assessment, then graduate, the supply output, we call it finished product, and then education customer, finally contribute to the society, the consumer. If you go back to the bottom side, in the bottom side, research supply chain, you can see the same scenario. Research suppliers, so you should start from the bottom side, and then the research project, this is supply input, raw materials. There is a development, research assessment, is a part of the university. Research outcome, this is the finished product of supply output. And finally, there is a customer, and that will contribute to the society. So whatever we do in the education supply chain, our main ultimate target is that how we can add the values to the society, how we can add the values to the consumer. So that is a very interesting thing is that, so when you design any kind of service industry supply chain, we have to ensure this on how we are adding the values to society. This is a few examples of the suppliers. I only mentioned we divided that supply the 2 segments into suppliers and research suppliers. So I don't want to talk too much. There is some examples we already provided here. That we divided the suppliers in the 3 segments: a human supplier, non-human supplier, and then a funding supplier, money supplier. And same things, research supplier, we divided the 2 segments: one the internal research suppliers and the external research project suppliers. I don't want to talk too much here about this one. Same thing, the customers, we divided the 2 segments: education customer, research customer. Basically, customers, I think those will get the benefit. So you understand our education customers, they are graduates themselves, and then employers, public and private organizations. Definitely their family members, those will provide the fund. Similarly, research customers, those will provide research fund, that is the suppliers. So after the providing supplier, after providing the fund, they would like to get the findings for the research. So that is research customers in research publication. Research customer is researcher. Research customer means that those will come up, the findings will come from the PhD dissertation, master thesis, or maybe the findings will come from the research publication. You don't know that 3 different levels of supply chain management is very popular concept in the supply chain. When you design any supply chain model, whatever the manufacturing industry, service industry, we have to ensure the 3 different levels: strategic, planning, operating level. So strategic is the top level management, they'll take the decision. The planning is the middle level manager, and operating level is the line manager. For the university, strategic level means vice chancellor, president, board of trustees, something like that. Planning level means a dean, program director, head of the department, something. Operating level means regular officer, staff, admin staff, faculty member. So what I said that if you apply the three distinct level in the university, you'll get the two things, graduates and research outcomes, and that will contribute to the society. Basically, you know that this is not only our target in the service industry to produce a finished product. Our ultimate target, the quality, what I said earlier. So you have to ensure the quality outcomes. We have to ensure the quality graduates. Now come to the question, how we can ensure that quality graduates. We mentioned this one, we can ensure the quality graduate with the two segments. One is the graduates benchmarking and another graduates value enhancement. Basically, we identified the few factors. Those are involved in the graduates benchmarking and graduates value enhancement. And what I said that risk outcomes, same things, our target the quality outcomes. So that we can produce that pure risk theory, we can produce that findings, research publication, so that we can work on that for future researchers, they can work from there. This is that ITSCM model. Basically, what I said that this is the education supply chain model. I like to request that audience just give the keep your eyes on this one. I just explained the one in 1 minute. In this model is divided by three segments. One is the education supply chain, research supply chain, and the middle one is the education management. What I said, this ITESC model consists three segments: education supply chain, the left side, research supply chain, the right side, and the middle one is the education management. So education supply chain, education suppliers, students with their raw materials, and it will go to the university. From the university, we'll get the graduates, education customers, that will contribute to the society, the consumer. Research supply chain, research suppliers, I think we already give the example. It's a project that will go to the university. After the processing, the university will get these outcomes, and that will contribute to the research customer, finally to the society. And then come to the last part, the education management. And the education management, you can see in the university, there is a 4 activities: education development, education assessment, research development, research assessment. And 3 distinct levels: strategic, planning, operating level. This is strategic, this is planning, this is operating level. But you know that what I said earlier, that in the university, we identify the 4 factors. Those factors are program establishment, university culture, faculty capabilities, and facilities. In a program establishment, if you launch any new program in the university, this is a part of the program establishment. University culture is a part of the university personality. So this research-based university, teaching-based university, this kind of decision come is the university culture. And then faculty capabilities. Basically, faculty capabilities will determine the 3 segments. One is that academics teaching, another research, another community service. And finally, the facilities. This is modern facilities for the teaching as well as for research. So what I said that education development, education assessment, research development, research assessment at 4 factors: program establishment, university culture, faculty capability, facilities at 3 distinct levels: strategic, planning, and operating level. And the very interesting thing is that what I said earlier, a development assessment should be concurrently. So you have to measure the development, whether it's the right way we are going or not. So this is a quality assurance center, we need it. If we could maintain this kind of education management, then we can get the quality graduate, quality outcome. What is our target? So that we can add the more values to our society, the consumer. This is basically ITESC model. We don't want to discuss in details, just our view about the model. You now come to the point. When I started the lecture, I mentioned that supply chain management and the future trends. So I like to show some trends. So first of all, I mentioned that there are lots of research on the manufacturing industry, supply chain management. Why don't you can move to the supply chain management in the service industry? And I give you some example, the service industry, what we are going to do. And now come to the next one, now COVID-19. How we can address this COVID-19 in our supply chain? Same. Now we have to do more research on that COVID-19 supply chain. If you look very carefully, which sector is highly affected during the COVID-19 time, pandemic time, it should be the healthcare industry. Hospital, they're collapsed. If you look very carefully, the USA, if you look very carefully, the UK, And they always mention this one. I think I remember that many times that if you look the CNN, they're using this one, the supply chain and the COVID during the COVID-19. How they'll supply that PPE, the personal protection for the doctors, for the nurses, health workers, something like that. So that is another avenue for the researcher. You have to do the more research on the COVID-19 and supply chain. So I just take the few minutes on this one so that you can get some new idea on supply chain management direction for future research. The most important thing is that the coronavirus crisis revealed the fragility of the modern supply chain, means flexibility of the modern supply chain. So we'll discuss about this one a little bit about this one. Recent data shows the devastation economic impact as that in China, US, and Europe. Due to this only for COVID-19. And now, how we can solve it? How we can do the more research? Diversified sourcing and digitization. It's very interesting. Diversified sourcing means we have to go for the more multiple suppliers, more multiple sourcing rather than one supplier. We have to go for the more digitization. More digitization means how we can convert the physical format to the digital format. That will be the key to building a stronger, smarter supply chain. So that is our target. How we can do this one. COVID-19 pandemic has hit the global trade and investment at an unprecedented speed and scale. I use the term the unprecedented because we are not familiar with this one. Is a different way we are getting this experience in the COVID-19. Multinational companies face an initial supply shock. You see the supply shock, they got it at first. And secondly, they got a demand shock as more and more countries order people to stay at home. So the government, business, individual consumers suddenly struggle to procure the basic products and materials and are forced to confront the fragility, flexibility of the modern supply chain. So this is the urgent need, and to design now some smarter, stronger, and more diversified supply chain has been the one of the learning during this COVID-19 time. And if you ask me that, this is a term that we call it supply chain disruption. Supply chain disruption. So look very carefully. The disruptions are gradually being felt everywhere, from the port to the factories, storehouses, a delivery chain everywhere. Disruption. With the passing of every single day during the countrywide lockdown and the worldwide lockdown imposed on the curb to the spread of the COVID-19. So that means the disruption is available in the transportation, warehouses, supplier of the raw materials, procurement, distribution chain. I think you are familiar with this term I already mentioned. So that should be the more research on that, how we can cope up with this kind of supply chain disruption. Even supply chain disruption is also evident in the rural farm level, where people are not getting the fair prices of the production. Because if you have the problem, the pricing problem in the raw material side, it's very difficult to continue the modern supply chain. This is one example of that how the supply chain is facing the problem. I just give some intuition for the prospective researchers to think about the COVID-19 supply chain disruption. There are 4 pillars. In the supply chain, there are 4 pillars, usually the planning and the sourcing, making, and delivery. And if you ask me now, suppose when the COVID-19 started, that time the planning was good, lots of planning was there. Maybe after 2 months, it will be recovered. After 3 months, it will be recovered. After 4 months, it will be recovered. Now it's almost the 6 months that's going on. And we don't know what is the destination of the COVID-19. When it will be finished. So that if you think in this way, that planning, sourcing, making, will be all in the bad condition. And that means that we call it supply chain collapsed. That is very interesting thing is that, look very carefully, one example. This is example based on the month of April and May, now is July. Demand for sugar, lentil, edible oil, everything is a little bit higher, 20 to 30% during the Ramadan time. Ramadan time, I think the Muslim people, you understand, the month of April and May. And demand for the trucks with transportation rise 20% during that time. But our Chittagong port, Chittagong is one of the largest port in our country. Chittagong port storage capacity, and then what they have now. Look very carefully. The Chittagong port storage capacity 49,019. 20 feet equivalent unit. On the other hand, now they have that product with the 49,468. It's more than that one. So not only that, in the 11 vessels at jetties were waiting for the offloading of goods, but the question of the human resource during COVID-19. And not only that, another 30 container vessels are outer anchorage for the berthing. It seems to be that activities at Chittagong port in Bangladesh have come to stand still as the amount of import containers has exceeded the port storage capacity due to the slow delivery of goods and the shutdown. That is the problem we are facing in supply chain disruption during the COVID-19. This is the explanation I think I already discussed. But I just give the two examples before finishing the part. There is one general manager of the owner of the city group. That is the largest community conglomerates in our country. They said that they are facing the disruption in the three areas. One is the port problem, production in the factory, and transportation. So you need the more research on that, how we can solve it. When you're doing this, our main target is practical application. This is one of the things how we can do this one. And then according to his conversation, he said that ships loaded with goods are stuck at ports. And they are not getting enough people to run the production. And finally, they are not getting enough people to drive the trucks to carry the commodities. This is the problem, very common problem they are facing nowadays. And there is another example is that our large business conglomerates in Bangladesh, Magna Group in industry, City Group, Aburka Group, Akis Group, Bashundhara Group are facing disruption in supply chain and shutdown. And now come to the point that how we can ensure the more resilience. More resilience in supply chain. This is one option. There is now a consensus that more resilience, flexibility in supply chain will be needed in the wake of this extreme uncertainty. For some of this involves building of the stockpiles, buffer inventory, store some product. But again, if you have buffer inventory, then the cost will be high to provide the more given the system. But warehousing comes at greater cost. Inventory cost will be high, warehouse cost will be high. And then this is the next one is that this is the what just-in-time deliveries aim to resolve. But how we will do this one? This is another question that there is a more research is required. So I would give the last findings for young scholars and researchers that let's to think about the supply chain disruptions due to the COVID-19 during this pandemic time. And that is the way we can get the latest trends of supply chain management in the area of the research. Thank you so much. Now, if you have any question, you can ask me.
Okay, thank you very much for all the keynote speakers who have delivered interesting topics in this conference. And for the information, because of there are several obstacles from the next speakers, they are unable to attend his conference. Today we will have just 3 keynote speakers. So we apologize for that. So now we will have come to question and answer session. And I have already had 5 questions from the chat box. Let me read. The first questions from Sri Widodo from Universitas Muhammadiyah Bandung. And the question is, this questions for Professor Ma'man Habib. Okay. What is the difference supply chain management among shipping, receiving, delivering, or distributing, and or logistic industry management? Okay, and how to maintain for quality, cost, delivery, and safety, satisfaction, culture, and art in supply chain student at university or polytechnics? Okay, this is the question for Professor Ma'man Habib.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm checking this one. Okay. This is you're asking the first question. What is the difference in supply chain management among the shipping, receiving, delivering, and distribution, logistics, industry management? You know that when you use the term the supply chain management is a integrated logistic, shipping, receiving, delivering, distribution, everything is there. And that's why we like to use the term that supply chain management rather than logistic management. And now, if you ask this one that if you use the logistic, then the question will be there, you're including all or not. And we are not discouraging to use the term, but we are encouraging to use the term supply chain management, which will be incorporated in the one umbrella, so that you can understand that the shipping, receiving, delivering, distribution channels, and logistics, everything is the one umbrella. Yes, now come to the question. You can do this one. Under the supply chain director, there will be the logistic manager, the responsible is logistic. And then there will be the suppose that shipping distribution manager, and there is a shipping manager, something like that. So then you can divide in under the supply chain manager different groups of the activities. And the second question you are asking about quality, how to maintain for quality, cost, delivery, save and safety, satisfaction, culture, art in supply chain student at University of Polytechnics. You know that this is a vulnerable question, and it's the quality is a perception, and we use the term the total quality management TQM. We have to reach that level, so maybe it is not possible to reach that level. And how we can maintain this quality? We need the one cell. We call it quality assurance center or quality assurance cell. They are the responsible to ensure this one. That they have to check this one. How about this kind of things is happening there? You see, we are talking about the quality in the universities, right? We are thinking about the safety. So they are safety maintaining or not. We have to confirm that all kind of logistic in the university should come on time. So that is somebody they will do this one. But I just remind you one thing is that we need the regular monitoring process. It is not like that we could say this is the best quality we have. It's not like that. We have to check regular basis whether we could reach that level or not, and how we could reach that level. Okay, that is something what we call it. We have to form that the quality assurance center, and they have to regularly monitor this one. Thank you so much. I got another question. Should I reply this one? I noticed that another one question for me. Should I reply that one now? They're asking about the performance supply chain for product design, manufacturing, assembly services are not. Was the difference with the supply chain education? Please explain.
Yeah. Okay, please explain.
Yeah, yeah.
It's different theoretical.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. You know that if you ask me that education supply chain and so whatever you call the services supply chain or manufacturing supply chain, there is some difference in terms of the theory, but the main concept is the same. But your presentation will be different way you have to do. Suppose if you talk the product design, university level, we should not use the term. We have to use the other way, the course design. We have to say the other way. We are thinking about the faculty members recruitment. We are thinking of the student recruitment. We are thinking about the other logistics support for this one. But the same thing is that same. What you ask the good question. Thank you so much. But the main concept the same, but we have to deliver in a different way to explain. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Please.
Okay, thank you so much for Professor Makmun Habib and for the question from Sriwidodo in Bandung. And then the next question is still from Sriwidodo. This question for Mr. Adam. Okay. Hello, Mr. Adam. Mr. Adam.
Yes.
Okay, you're still here. Okay, this is the question for you. The question is why the result of deviation standard score was not excellent, but only enough?
Okay, yeah, the result of the deviation standard is small or enough, but the main idea for this study is to know to identify the component of the perceived usefulness and also attitude. For the perceived usefulness, we already know some score that the highest score for the item, for example, save time on the LMS, and also effective learning is the most or the in the highest score. So I mean for the perceived usefulness, there are 14 items, and the highest one is about the time consuming in the learning program, and we have two item in the attitude. Yeah, I think like that.
It's okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Mr. Adam. And then the next question still from Mr. Sri Widodo. This question still for it's for Professor Erwin. Okay, Professor Erwin, be ready for this question. The question is why you was not explained for rotary wing aircraft product PTI-PTN or PTI-DI. Hello, Professor Erwin.
One of them is rotary wing. It is important component there. So the difference with the fixed wing is, and I think until now we don't design any helicopter yet. We just assemble the helicopter for the rotary wing. Not yet. Even though we have the capability, but we don't go there yet. I myself actually work in the PTDI in the propeller part, which is also similar. I mean, rotating blade. I work on wheel flutter. So I understand that it is more difficult. But I participated in the flight test of the helicopter. I remember that once I was in the helicopter of the that performed the flight test. They perform many maneuver, but the one which is very dangerous for the flight for the helicopter is when they turn off the engine. They turn off the engine in the sky. Okay, yeah. And then suddenly the helicopter go down like that. I was looking to the ground, and the ground is approaching. Very stressful, but we managed to the pilot of course turn on again, and alhamdulillah it is working again, but it is very dangerous. So of course we have the capability also in the rotary wing, but because of the time I cannot cover all of the capability of the PTDI. Yeah. Thank you, Prof. Sidido, yeah. Thank you, Prof. Yeah.
It's okay. Okay. Thank you very much, because the aircraft, the fixing and the rotary wing is different of the rule and regulation for the certification.
Yeah.
The principle is different. Yeah, it's very fun. Then the rotary wing is very difficultly divide of the fixed wing, for example, and to fix and so on.
Exactly.
Because we have the certificate approval TC, PC, PME from the IQ, International Civil Aviation. I think in Indonesia only 10% for the active of this. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, is it clear, Mr. Sri Widodo?
Okay, thank you. Good.
Okay, thank you for the question. Thank you for Mr. Professor Erwin. And then the next question is from Wilma Silalahi from the Constitutional Court of the Republic of Indonesia. This question for Mr. Adam. Okay, how is the treatment taken to lecturers that cannot be followed the technology-based learning management system? And how can the learning delivered be conveyed to students? This requires a truly planned learning design. Are our lecturers and students ready to face the current situation, or do we have to improve the situation? Can you provide the best way or solution?
Okay, thank you for the question. Sorry, I moved from the place and was it left from the Zoom and rejoined the Zoom, so I don't know the complete questions. Okay, about the question, how to I think first we have to improve or develop the competence or skill of the lecturer in LMS. For example, we had some training. I think related to the next question about the best practices. For example, in my university, in the last months, in this month, we set up some training to improve the ability of the lecturer to use the LMS, so that the lecturer will fluently in using the LMS. And for the student, yeah, in our case, yeah, in Indonesia, there's some handicap. For example, student don't have any quota or internet access. So university have to provide the internet quota for example, for the pandemic era. But this also have the problem. For example, for the private university that maybe have the minimum budget to do that. So yeah, this is some obstacle or some issues on the LMS method of the learning process. Yeah, I think the solution is for the lecturer or faculty member is increasing their ability to optimize the LMS. For the student, I think because they are millennial generation, Generation Z, and so they easy to follow the IT or ICT technology. I think like that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Mr. Adam. And the next question is for Professor Erwin, and it's still from Wilma Silalahi. The question is, what is your opinion regarding the high cost transportation compared to other countries? Due to many airplanes accidents, can you give us our safety flight conditions?
Okay, thank you. So there are two questions here. The first question is regarding the air ticket, which is considered to be high compared to other countries. I think it is not my specialty to answer this one here, but I'm thinking that we need to have a meeting, I mean, among the stakeholders of the airliners here. So the meeting should be with government, airliners, and consumer bodies or something like that, to discuss to break down the real cost of the air ticket. Of course, we understand that the airliners has also a concern because of, especially now, because of the COVID-19. Not only in Indonesia, but also in other countries. There are some limitation, for example, of the capacity of the passenger who can enter the aircraft. So that kind of thing should be discussed openly and fairly. Lembaga konsumen Indonesia should be there to also to know why the cost is so high like that. Of course, the government should should give a guideline regarding this price. The second question is regarding the why there are some accident in our countries. We need to see case by case for that one because not every day, of course, for the but for sure the aircraft should be certified. But as we know that even for the one who are new aircraft, something like Boeing, the 737 800 Max, right? The problem, the latest one. That is not. I mean, that one is, let's say, the mistake of the aircraft manufacturer, Boeing. So they made some additional system to the aircraft, which is not, let's say, inform or train to the new pilot who can fly 737. Of course, this one, this kind of thing, so it means that the case is case by case. It can be because of the manufacturer. It can be because of the pilot, human error. It can be because of the flight controller or maintenance. So there are some parts there. Usually, we have what we call it operational certification. So operating certificate. So Lion Air or Garuda or airliners should have this certificate. So they know what is the requirement for the maintenance. If they follow this kind of regulation, it should be okay. It should be safe. As far as I know, the aircraft is still safe compared to the accident in the ground. But of course, the fatality is very published very because sometimes they publish very tragically. Okay? Sometimes. So, but as far as I know, it is like that. And then the other thing is the certification is very stringent, very strict. So all the safety of the aircraft is calculated very strict. For example, the one that I discussed before, the load. The load is, for example, it is if normal case is say 100. Actually, what we are calculating for structure is more than 100. We multiply by load factor of, let's say, 2.4. So 240. Multiply again one by 150. So it becomes 360. Instead of 100, we calculated 360 for structure. Just because we don't want the structure to fail. Something like that. And then we perform the test, as I said before. The test is extremely dangerous. Of course, that one will not happen during the operational everyday. I mean, operating normal operation of the aircraft. But when we do the certification, we do it beyond the operating condition. So, but for the Boeing, the one that 737 Max here, it is really unfortunate. They forgot to include redundancy because that one is because of the error in the angle of attack reading. There is an error there that sensor was replaced before flying. That sensor has problem, so they replace it. Of course, according to the manual, but somehow again fail during the flight. Usually, in that case, usually we have what we call it redundancy. If one part fail, the other part still can work. Usually like that. But just for this part here, somehow Boeing miss it. So then they, of course, now they have already fixed it. As far as now, as I know, 2 days ago they have already started the flight test of the corrected airplane. 2 days ago. So it is flying okay. Of course, during the flight test here, the certification body is there because they don't want to repeat the same problem. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Professor
you for
Erwin.
thank you for the explanation to Mr. Adam Jerusalem and Mr. Erwin Sulaiman, who explained it very well. Thank you very much.
Okay. There's still the question. This is for Professor Mahmoud Habib. Okay, the question is from excuse me.
What can be done by developing countries to tackle the disruption of supply chain caused by COVID-19, right? This question. Yeah. Thank you. This is a very good question and timely manner question that now we have to do the more work on supply chain disruption and how we can manage it. So I like to give the few phenomena so you can understand. Now, after the COVID-19 situation, all over the world, we have the same problem. Whatever the developed country, USA, whatever the developed country, the European countries, they also collapsed. And then you can see the scenario that after the COVID-19, economical condition will be changed. Many persons' economic condition will change, many country economic condition will change, power will be changed, that organization disruption, organization position will be changed, place the organization by new organization will come up and new findings will come up. So, but now you are asking this one, that developing and how they can tackle this disruption. Basically, I couldn't get enough time. Otherwise, I'll discuss about this one. I'm doing lots of webinar nowadays on supply chain disruption. There is a few solutions could be there. One solution would be there. We cannot stop the production. So now, if you do the production, then how the customer will come to the retailer? So that this is one option is that we have to go to the online. We have to go to the online. We call it digitization. More digitization. So you know that Walmart and then Tesco in UK and Walmart in the USA, after the pandemic starting, they recruited lots of people just for the home delivery service. So because they couldn't stop the production. So you have to do this the same way you can do this one, that how you can involve the more human resource and home delivery service with maintaining all kind of precaution for the COVID-19. And secondly, let's go to the more suppliers. Let's go to the more suppliers rather than one supplier. Earlier, we have to concentrate on one supplier, and now we have to go to the more suppliers. So if you have the more suppliers, the more diversify, you can take the more decision. And let's think about as I mentioned, the buffer inventory. There are some of the stories we can think that at least as the circumstances, this kind of situation come up, then we can cope up. But again, I remind you, one issue is that this is we have faced this problem after a long time. Usually, a pandemic will come after 100 years, up to 200 years. So this time we face this one, and now supply chain management is there. So now we are thinking supply chain disruption. I believe after this one that our supply chain professionals, they will do the more research supply chain disruption, and we have to come up some of the decision based on that one. I believe this one. So let's see how we can do the more research on supply chain disruption, how the developing country they can cope up with this kind of a scenario. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Actually, this is the last questions. Thank you for the participants. Thank you for all keynote speakers. It's informative and interesting talk. And before I close the seminar, I would like to take the conclusion from what the speakers have presented. From Mr. Adam Jerusalem emphasized that learning management system plays important role in influencing the level of lecturers' acceptance, and the attitude towards the use of learning management systems certainly has a strong influence on the perceived usefulness of the lecturers. And Professor Erwin gave us overview about elasticity of air vehicle system. And in addition, Professor Dr. Mahmoud Habib emphasized that diverse sourcing and digitization, the process of converting information into digital format, will be the key to building stronger, smarter supply chains and ensuring a lasting recovery in this coronavirus crisis. And now we will hold a photo session. So it is expected to all participants to turn on your camera. Okay, thanks in advance. Please, for participants to turn on your camera. Oke, mohon kepada semua peserta conference untuk bisa menonaktifkan kamera karena kita akan melakukan fotosesi bersama. Don't forget to smile. Okay. 1, 2, 3, cheers. Okay, one more. Freestyle. Okay. 1, 2, 3, cheers. Okay, one more. Okay. One. Okay, please, Mr. Budi to comment this photo session. Mr. Budi.
Okay. One, two, three. Okay. Next.
Finish? Okay, thank you. Thank you for
so
participants and our keynote speakers. Okay, and for the next sessions, we will present to you the traditional dance. The title is Subali and Sugriwa, that will be performed by Mia, Sendra Tasik students of Muhammadiyah University of Tasik Malaya.
sajaman Ramayana rebutan kekawasan tunda tali jeung paranti geus lali katemah wadi nu dibawah hukum leuweung rap ngangge pakaian dengan sugriwa subalikeun Sri Rama gelar Batara manusia nuka percaya perceka lan wicaksana milampah laku sarakah manganta kabur milampah tindak tanduk nusarakah tareka mentangkeun panah angkara murkana rebah
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we finally come to the end part of this seminar. I'd like to thank so much to the speaker for informative and interesting presentation and to the participation for very active participation. Hopefully, the seminar will be beneficial for everybody. Amin. Amin. And for the announcement, this seminar will be held again tomorrow at 8:30. All participants must follow it because tomorrow there will be a great keynote speaker, such as Professor Dr. Muhtadi MSc, Muhammad Afandi Muhammad PhD, Professor Dr. Harun Joko Prayitno, Associate Professor Dr. Rosminah Binti Muhammad, and Professor Dr. Suswandari. And just reminder for participants who have not uploaded a video presentation on YouTube, they are expected to upload it immediately. Okay, thank you for your attention. Thank you for joining us today, and we will see you tomorrow in the second session. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you.
Oke, terima kasih Bapak Ibu dari Bandung, dari Bogor, ya ini dari seluruh Nusantara ini saya lihat hadir di sini, Sidoarjo, oke, dari Padang ya saya lihat dari Padang, terima kasih, Indramayu, Dari Aceh, oke, bahkan dari Aceh. Terima kasih. Dari Jakarta, Pontianak. Terima kasih semuanya, sampai bertemu besok jam 7:30.
Terima kasih. Terima kasih.
Assalamualaikum.
Terima kasih semuanya.
Waalaikumsalam
Terima kasih.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam, terima kasih.
Dah.
Assalamualaikum.
Bye. See you tomorrow.
Agent left.
Tomorrow, ya, see you tomorrow.
Salam kenal.
Terima kasih semuanya. Terima kasih semuanya.
Thank you very much.
Terima kasih para pemateri, luar biasa materinya. Izin lab.
Masuk mau lihat yang namanya itu paten. Kalau teteh pandai nyanyi, kalau coba masuk dengar. Kalau malah cantik. Ada